All right. Happy Monday. Good to be back. Sorry I missed you guys last week. I was traveling, went up to Salt Lake City, went and met a client out there, him and his family, which was pretty cool. And got to talk and spend some time with them, which was awesome. They have an allocation to digital assets and wanted to discuss working with us and the team, and so just flew up there. I really like in-person stuff. I think it makes a difference, and we'll go out of our way to do it for people. We had another event just this weekend here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Went up there. A lot of traveling here recently, and we had a room of about 50 people that were there at the restaurant. Kevin Dory, shout out to him for hosting us there at 21, which is his restaurant there in Fort Smith. Fantastic steak and other cuisine. If you would like to go check it out, I'm sure he would love to have you. Anyway, again, shout out to him for hosting us there, and all the people that did come up to Fort Smith to just see me and Connor. Connor McLaughlin is our main financial advisor for Digital Wealth Partners. He goes by the alias Mickle, if you guys know who that is. Mickle Mafia, I think is the nickname of the people that watch him on a regular basis. Maybe we need a name for we got the Beyond Broke community, I guess. But yeah, shout out to Mickle Mafia if you're watching. It was awesome to see him in person, as it is every time, and just catch up and lay it down, provide. We really just answer questions. So a lot of what we do here, I hop on here every Monday and Wednesday night, except for last Wednesday, and run down questions in the Q&A for people. Try to give candid feedback about questions. It could really be about anything. We have people that talk about, previous stuff that I've done. It could be golf, it could be bodybuilding, but most of the time it does relate to digital assets, your portfolio, returns on that, macroeconomics, tax, advice around. Well, I can't give you advice. I can talk about the things that I'm doing for my taxes, and I also can't provide legal advice, but we do a lot of the estate planning, and we work with estate planners to help people structure their estates for the digital assets and make sure that they're able to mitigate taxes, protect themselves, make sure that their assets are being able to be passed on to the next generation in the most tax efficient manner, and they're protected and they maintain their privacy over their lifetime. Do a lot of that. And again, open to any questions here about any of that stuff. And then also we have the full wealth management side of the business, which again, Mickle is the lead or main advisor over there, where we provide institutional custody through Digital Wealth Partners there at Anchorage. So if most people hold their assets on a cold wallet or on an exchange or on a hot wallet. This is completely different. It's revolutionary. You get all the same benefits that you would from like a Fidelity or a Goldman or a Schwab, but you're able to bring your digital assets over there in kind. And I'll say this, my team pointed this out to me today when we were talking about the fee schedule and stuff. Everybody else is going to take, upside on your assets. Even if you brought them over, even if you made those investments, if they're inside their portfolio, they're going to take returns on that. We don't. You made those investments. That was not an advised action. It was nothing that we did on our accord, and we do not feel that we are entitled to any compensation on the upside of those assets. Now, if there's something that we provide, the ability to borrow against them, the ability to earn returns on them outside of the scope of what you would be able to, just on your own. If it's an advised action, then obviously, there's some compensation there. But any of the appreciation on the assets themselves, we get nothing on. So XRP goes to $1,000. There's AUM fees that are just really the cost of doing business for us when it comes to the institutional custody and the insurance and the compliance, KYC, AML, and the other partnerships that we have to be able to conduct business and do it in an above board way. We're one of 2 SEC registered RIAs that actively manage digital assets for people that own them. And I'm pretty confident that the other one probably takes fees on the upside when it comes to the digital assets. So anyway, we always want to make sure that we're doing what's in the best interest of our clients. I am not a financial advisor. I cannot provide you financial advice. Nothing here is financial advice, only for entertainment and educational purposes only. If you want financial advice, you can reach out to Digital Wealth Partners, and they will run it down for you until you buy more XRP. But I can't do that. So with that, we'll go ahead and hop into the questions. We got some people over here on TikTok. Appreciate you guys hanging out. And then we also have people here on X and on YouTube. Shout out to you guys and all the wonderful questions that you have. Go ahead and hop into it here. We have Xav. They say, hi, Jake. Thank you for all that you do. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being here and asking good questions. They say, with the PPLI life insurance, you say it has to be front loaded with 5 million. Do you know if we can front load with 5 million in crypto? Yes. So that's been the whole deal for me. I want to be able to fund these policies in kind. So you don't have to liquidate into cash and then buy back in the policy. That's what a lot of people do for your IRA, which I think is silly. We are the first ever, as far as I'm aware, another custodian that will take in-kind transfers for IRAs. So if you have your IRA at iTrust Capital or Bitcoin IRA or some of the other ones, and you want the insurance on the assets, which I don't know that they provide, not the crime insurance anyway, bring them over here to us. And we're working on solutions to be able to generate returns on the assets inside of an IRA. If it's Solana, all day. We can stake it. You can make money on that. If it's ETH, we should have that live here in Q1. If you've got Bitcoin, we've got other solutions for that. XRP, with one of the announcements that we're going to come out with this week, I think that we'll be capable of providing returns inside IRAs with that. So a lot of things moving on our side, but I really excited to be able to migrate IRAs over and really help people get the most out of that financial product and that qualified capital. But as far as the PPLI goes, because that's what you asked about, we're working on a way to be able to bring that threshold down. That's called an IDF, or an insurance direct fund. Those, we're looking to launch that at some point in the near future. We've got a lot of it spooled up, ready to go, just finalizing things, hopefully within the next quarter or so is my expectation on that, if we're able to push things along. I just want to say also, I don't know if my team watches this or not, but super proud of them. Can't say enough good things about them. They drive every single day. They're sending emails late into the evening. They push. And I probably drive people a little hard sometimes because I'm so excited about the opportunity that we have. But I do just want to take a second to say thank you if you guys are watching. Here in the last couple of weeks, I've been pushing pretty hard and they've been delivering. And we do have ways to generate returns for clients on their assets inside of institutional custody, which has never been done before in the manner that we're doing it. We've done $3 million in loans against XRP. Never been done before. We're doing it. They've orchestrated partnerships with institutional players that have never existed before. Never been done. We're doing it. And they're building out systems and processes that have never existed before with any of the custodians or any of the partners that we have. So they've been crushing it. They're doing an awesome job. I'm probably a little critical, and I'm always driving things forward. But again, if they're listening, just want to say thank you for all that you guys do. So on the PPLI side, should be able to bring that down to somewhere between 1 and 2 million is the minimum. And it should be able to be done in kind in crypto, specifically XRP. So they talk about currency has to be what's used to fund it. You can't fund these policies with securities. You have to fund them with cash and then buy the securities. But we know XRP is not a security based on the Judge Torres and the ruling that she put out. And FinCEN did designate XRP a currency back in 2014 or 15 when they had the lawsuit with Ripple. So in my mind, that makes XRP a bridge currency, and it would likely meet the qualifications of being able to fund a PPLI policy. We're still working through the logistics on some of that. We have other ways to go around it and do it if we need to do it that way. But yeah, it's definitely in the works, and we'll be, we have a couple policies in the pipeline here that we should have funded here in Q1, and I will report back on exactly when and what happens with those. But yes, to answer your question, that is our goal. We got another person over here. We got Joseph. He says, hey, Jake, can you talk more about the Japanese unwind and what it'll take for it to actually drive XRP up? So I think you're starting to see it. There's a lot of narratives out there in the market that oh, it's the tariffs, or oh, it's DeepSeek. No, 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 no. This is the beginning of the unwind of the reverse carry trade. And you're starting to see it across all markets, and they don't want to spook people. The media doesn't know that it's happening. I'm going to go ahead and call it and say this is the canary in the coal mine moment, where people are getting out of their positions and rolling that back into dollars and getting it back over there to Japan before the real action starts to happen. And realistically, what's going to take to drive XRP up is the full dominoes are going to have to fall. Okay, so the reverse carry trade needs to unwind. You're going to see huge amounts of treasuries get liquidated onto the market. Markets are going to have huge amounts of pressure on them. There's going to be downside in the markets, like people are not going to know what's happening. We saw this begin to happen back in August, and it kind of started the same way today did. There was a few down days, and then it plummeted, right? It fell 13% in one day. And I think that's kind of where we're at. We're at the edge of that for the larger FANG stocks and the majority of the indexes. Everything was down big this morning. We saw a huge sell-off in crypto over the weekend. I think somebody has triggered something. Somebody's illiquid. Somebody is in a bad spot when it comes to the reverse carry trade. And that news kind of broke maybe this weekend, and people are de-risking very quickly, without trying to cause a big stir. So maybe even here this week, we could see everything start to exacerbate and unwind faster. And if that happens, again, huge dump of treasuries onto the market. We'll rush through stablecoin regulations. It's on the floor here to be passed. We have a pro-crypto Congress. We have bipartisan support. It should be easy to get that bill through. That would allow for all the large fintechs here that have been accumulating money transmitter licenses across all the states. We've seen Twitter. I think there are like 42 or 45 licenses across all the states at this point to be able to transact business as a money processor. You got WhatsApp has now launched their token. You got Telegram. You've got Meta. You've got X, Apple, Google. Everybody's waiting in the wings to launch their stablecoin. And as soon as that regulation's passed, they're going to soak up those treasuries that are going to get dumped onto the market, which is also going to have implications for Tether. We saw Crypto.com delist Tether last Friday, which is a big deal. I don't think people understand the potential liquidity crisis that could happen across crypto and the exchanges if they were to sanction Tether and people have not de-risked. Bitfinex, I think, is going to have some issues. There's some other foreign exchanges that I think are deeply embedded with Twitter that are going to have some problems. Tether. It's been a long day. So just watch out for that stuff. Make sure that your stuff's held in institutional custody or on a cold wallet. Even if you're not working with us, at least get it onto a cold wallet. Okay, that would be my recommendation. I'd get your assets. I prefer Decent. We are an affiliate. If you want to use the link in the bio, awesome. We make like $5, I think, is what we get paid on those. I have it there because I use it. I think it's a good product. They've got a biometric. They've got a full UI that's intuitive and very easy to use. They've got the largest breadth of assets. You can add a 25th word to your seed phrase. Zaman Tangent's another one that's kind of come onto the scene that I think is also fantastic. It's an app on your phone. Use a card, put it to the back of it. When I was up there last, was it 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago in Vegas on Sin City Crypto, those guys had some Tangent cards that they were giving away that said Sin City on it, which was pretty cool. But yeah, either one of those products I think are great. And even if it's an Engrave or an LLPal or a Trezor or a Ledger, concerned about Ledger. I've had now two situations with clients that were holding larger amounts of XRP where they did not get phished, they did not give out their seed phrases, and yet they were still looted, and they were holding their assets on Ledger and they updated the firmware. So not saying correlation equals causation, but now there's more than one. And so my spidey senses are tingling. If you have a Ledger, not saying get scared or liquidate it or move stuff off of it, just be aware of that there's potentially some stuff going on there. Arculus is another one. I just wouldn't have it on an exchange. And the reason for that is we've already seen, what could potentially happen there if they go illiquid or go bankrupt. We had Celsius, we had Voyager, we had FTX, you've had Three Arrows Capital. There's the bunch of things that have transpired over the last 3 years here that are just kind of best practices at this point, that you're going to hold your digital assets off of an exchange, and you only exchanges and Tether are like a public restroom. Okay. When you need to use it, you get in and get out. You don't stay there very long. That's my correlation. They're there for a reason. Obviously, people need to use them. But if I wouldn't hold anything on there. I wouldn't just stay in the men's restroom in a gas station somewhere. I'm going to get in there, do my business, and get out. And that's how I look at the exchanges. And so Coinbase, we got Exodus. There's a few other people have asked about those. Coinbase and Uphold and Kraken, probably not going anywhere. But here's the deal with those. Okay, so when you send your XRP or XLM to that, it's pooled. It goes into an account, one wallet address, okay, that they use, and they send it out to people. So with that, they owe it back to you. It's like putting your money in a bank. You are a creditor to the exchange or a creditor to the bank. If they go bankrupt, those are their assets, and they can do whatever they want with them. Or let's say the government comes in and says, hey, this is systemically important. You can pay people a premium on it, but you're going to take their assets. They got to listen to the government. You don't really have recourse on that. BitPay, Robinhood. Actually, you can move your stuff off Robinhood. I talked about that this weekend with a group. BitPay, I like BitPay for a money processor, but I wouldn't hold money on there. Again, they're just their stuff. It's due back to you. You are a creditor. Robinhood, again, kind of like a normal public exchange. I would put my stuff on there, do some business, and get off. Uphold has Vault for XRP. Yeah, I mean they do, and that's definitely a solution that you could use. They do provide a way to regenerate keys if you lose them, so I do like that product. He said, what's the best wallet? So Decent, it's in the links in the bio. We have institutional custody, so if you have over 100,000 XRP or you've got at least 400,000 in digital assets, we can put it in insured institutional custody where it's never commingled. You have your own advisor. You get all the benefits, right, of all the stuff that we provide. If you have less than those amounts, I'd recommend a cold wallet. And again, Decent's in the bio. Like, if we're an affiliate, like I said, I like that one over all the other ones. I've tried all of them, and that's my favorite, and that's why we're an affiliate for them. We make like $5 if you use the link. So it's more just because I want it to be convenient for people to have access to something good. Kraken, I used Kraken today. Bought a little bit of XRP while it was down. I don't know if you guys took advantage of the dip. A lot of people get scared during these market crashes. Obviously, you saw the recovery here, V bottom. I think that's it. I think that's it to the downside. I think we're in for another pretty big leg up here on XRP. Bitcoin, I think, may continue further down. And obviously, we've seen the recovery over the last 24 hours here, but it looks like consolidation at the top for Bitcoin, and you might get, maybe it goes to 115. I really don't think you're going to get the crazy numbers that people have talked about, 150, 200, a quarter, 400, a million. The alpha, the upside on Bitcoin at this point, I think, is significantly less than the rest of the market. Altcoins, there will be an alt season, but I think it's going to be very different. I think it's only going to be for tokens that have ETFs that are approved. And right now that's ETH. And hopefully XRP. We've got 11 ETFs that are on the docket. You've got Solana ETFs that are on the docket. You got Doge ETFs and HBAR ETFs. I think that there could come a point in the very near future where the SEC just decides to approve all of those. And you see liquidity pour out of the Bitcoin ETFs and rotate into those other ETFs in order to get returns. And I think that's going to be really what drives the altcoin season this year. We saw a ton of liquidity moved into Bitcoin because of the ETFs. It reached an all-time high even previous to the halving, which is very unusual. It's never happened before. And it was specifically because they launched the ETFs a little over a year ago. January 10th of 2024 was the day that the ETFs got approved. So again, I think, these other digital assets that are going to have ETFs where that qualified capital, 401ks, IRAs, and other stuff can get access to them. I think that's the way that the rotation is going to happen. This person says Exodus is self-custody. Exodus is a hot wallet. So Atomic Wallet and Exodus have both been hacked at different times. I know people specifically that have lost money on Atomic Wallet from having their assets on there. That's not a safe place to hold your stuff. Anything that's connected to the internet all the time is probably not a good place to keep your digital assets. If you're holding them in a smart contracts get hacked. Even cold wallets get hacked, right? And that's why I'm a proponent of the institutional custody that we have. We're working on a solution. They're already quantum resistant, but we're working on an even better solution for quantum encryption that we're working to implement over there. So give you guys the announcement when that's enacted, which will be pretty cool in the very near future. Robbie, you're not supposed to tell people what's going on, brother. You were at the event. I said, don't mention this on public forums. He says, hey, Jake, will the XRP ADR include IRA assets? If not, are there similar yield options for IRAs on the horizon? I'm going to put that back off the screen because that's the announcement this week. So sneak peek for you guys. That is an option. So you can't borrow against assets or the primary collateral that was used to fund an IRA. And that really limits what you can do with it in the current capacity because XRP doesn't have any staking. There's no native DeFi on the XRPL. You could put it in AMMs, but then you're subject to impermanent loss, especially if you had huge price appreciation on XRP and half the pool is something else. If it's a stable coin, you're going to miss out on half of that appreciation. Even though you are potentially earning yield for people arbitraging that pool, there's not really enough volume on that yet to really drive to make up for the difference that you could be missing out on. So really looking forward to what are the amendments? XLS 64, 65, and 66. If you guys want to check out XRP scan/amendments, you can go there and see where things are at on the voting schedule. Those haven't been put up for proposal yet, but when I talked to David Schwartz last year at Consensus, he mentioned that he felt they would be up for proposal sometime between April and June, and likely get passed at that point. So that's what I'm waiting on. We did get the clawback for the AMMs live, and we did see the RLUSD and XRP pool created, which is awesome. Big things coming for stable coins on the XRPL, and I think that's really the first use case. International remittance, stable coins at scale for enterprises and institutions, specifically here in the U.S. So Trump signed that executive order where there is going to be no CBDC here in the U.S. There's no way that they can do it now, and so that's why I think you're going to see a ton of private stable coins flood onto the market, and I think they'll end up being like credit cards. Like you'll get cash back or travel points or just different perks for holding your money with whatever provider you're going to work with, and obviously you'll get a yield off the treasuries that back those tokens too. And you could hold it in your own wallet on your phone, right? You can hold your Google stablecoin in your Google wallet on your phone. Anyway, I think that's the way that this is going to go specifically here in the U.S. I do think you're going to see CBDCs across a lot of other countries, Japan included. They are in the trial portion of their CBDC launch, and I think that's probably likely here in the very near future, especially if we see the reverse carry trade unwind. So yeah, anyway, back to the IRAs. We are working on other ways to be able to do that. Restaking is something that we should have as a option here in the near future. My team always slaps my hand if I give time frames, so I can't be promissory or tell you when. All I can say is soon. So we're working on it, and we do want to be able to provide returns inside of an IRA. We got Alfredo. He says, "Hola, what's going on, Alfredo?" He says, "Shout out to you and everything you do. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the kind words." He says, "Do you think price appreciation will roll out steadily throughout the year, or one gigantic upswing?" I think it's going to be one gigantic upswing. When there's a liquidity crisis and there's a short squeeze on XRP because there's not that much on the exchanges, and everybody launches their spot ETF at one time, and there's going to be a ton of people that pile in and they have to buy up what's left off the open market. I think it'll drive price to levels that people just have a really hard time comprehending. 50, 100, 500, $1,000 in a very short period of time. And you've seen this on the chart before. Okay, so it's not like this is the first time this has happened or that it's unheard of. When XRP moves to the upside, it moves like fast, hundreds of percent in a day. To the level that I think this is going to move. I really like Blockchain Backer. I really like a lot of the other TA guys. The problem is I think they're using a linear chart and they should be using a log chart. And if they took the same move on a log scale and overlaid it with what it is now, that's how I see things moving to, 3 and 4 digits. I think that they are, again, using a linear chart pattern and then matching the size of the candles. I think it's percentages, and I think that all cryptos move on a logarithmic chart rather than a linear chart, like a lot of people use for the charting that they do. That's just me. So I think when it starts moving, there's going to be a catalyst. Macroeconomics, a lot of the stuff that I've already talked about with the reverse carry trade and treasuries and Bitcoin and the stock market and all of those things as a catalyst all at once. Is what I think is going to drive XRP to the price points that a lot of people are anticipating that are watching this. I got 600 people here on YouTube, and we got 100, almost 200 people over here on TikTok. Very nice to see you guys. If you're here watching this, you're early. Even though some of these prices have already moved up since the bear market, you're here, right? And if you're looking at digital assets right now and taking a position, can't give you financial advice. I can only tell you what I'm doing. I only own XRP. I think there's a lot of good opportunities out there in the market besides XRP. That's just my personal choice, and I think that has the most ROI, and so that's where I'm positioned. Full disclosure, and you could call me an XRP maxi. I'm not really an XRP maxi. If you could show me something else that was going to be as high in ROI and have all the benefits as XRP is going to have on the other side, then I'm game for it. But I haven't found anything else, and I've been doing research for 5 years now, so that's why I'm positioned where I am. I do have gold and silver, but it's not for an investment. It's my emergency fund. So I keep somewhere between 3 and 6 months worth of expenses in gold and silver, physical. I think that it's really just a hedge for the emergency fund, and it makes it a little difficult to exchange it for cash when I need it. Still got to take it to a coin shop. So I really have to think about do I really need this, or can I hustle up and make some money some other way, or do I need to go liquidate this? You know what I mean? So anyway, thank you for the question, and hopefully that provided some clarity for you there, Alfredo. Appreciate your, I love the hola, man, and the super chat. Thank you so much. We got Young Quavo 2. He says, is Caleb Brown as safe as Anchorage for cryptos that Anchorage doesn't support? Also, when do you think XLM and HBAR will be held at Anchorage? So we have absolute definitive answer on XLM, and that is this quarter. I'm hoping faster. I think within the next couple of weeks they'll have XLM. We're really pushing that along. But again, I can't be promissory. I can't say timelines. I get my hand slapped. So Q1 for XLM. HBAR, XDC, and Flare, we're pushing hard also for things to move along and to be held at Anchorage there in the very near future. Hopefully Q1 also. That's my hope and what I'm pushing for. But, if we drift a couple weeks into Q2, I'm not going to be mad about it either. And here's the deal with that. So there's a big lift. They have to integrate those networks. They also have to go through compliance checks and make sure that they're doing everything on the up and up. They've got to build out the infrastructure on their side to support the sharded keys and the custodianship of those assets on the HSMs, which is hardware security modules. They've got to, have more room on their server racks and stuff in the level 4 facilities. The level 4 facilities have armed guards and firmware and all kinds of stuff to mitigate anybody from being able to hack them or get in there and expose your keys or have access. And the keys are encrypted and then sharded, so they'd have to, hack all of the different global locations at once. Just I can't say it's quantum proof, Like they won't let me do that, but it's quantum resistant, right? So anyway, Caleb and Brown does not do that. Caleb and Brown, I don't think they have an algorithmic way to store the assets there. I think they're very similar to an exchange. They use Fireblocks as their back-end custody solution. Fireblocks does have insurance on physical infrastructure, but nothing on the assets. There is no crime insurance on the assets. And so the reason that we use Anchorage and not somebody else is I think they're the absolute best. We've vetted everybody else. We've talked to Zodia, Archax, Koma Inu, Hex Trust, Standard Custody, Coinbase, Gemini, Kraken, like Fidelity. Like I've had a conversation with all of them. I know all the people that work. BNY Mellon, we chose Anchorage because they have been the best partner. They have the infrastructure, they have the team, they have the resources to be able to build out what we need and provide our clients with the best service. And so that's why, we've chosen them as our partner for Digital Wealth Partners and to be able to custody our clients' assets there. And they are working very diligently to support any of the assets that we request. And those two that you mentioned there, XLM and HBAR, they've pushed pretty hard, and we should see those here again in Q1. Any other super chats? We have Off the Grid Hero. He says XRP, XLM, Stronghold, Silver, good group. XRP, XLM for sure. Stronghold, there's probably some upside there. Maybe there's an acquisition that's made by Stripe or one of the other payment processors for that platform. They're not going to get anywhere close to 1% of all payments processed. Sorry, that's just not going to happen. If they did, it could be like a $50 token. I've run the math on the supply and the demand and everything there. I think it's a great application for blockchain and what they're doing to be able to settle value and pay rewards in that ecosystem. And then also, provide lines of credit against people that are, processing a certain amount of payments through their platform. Great business model. The token itself, I think you've seen a lot of speculation on it. No idea on price point in the future, but I do think the company itself is probably if you could invest in that, I would do that over the token personally. But again, people have made a lot of money on it, so I hope they continue to do it. And XRP and XLM would be where I'd put my money over Stronghold. But again, not financial advice, just my personal opinion. Silver. So traditionally, the gold to silver ratio is around 40 to 1. Well, it's 1 to 40 if you do gold to silver. So, biblically, it's 14 to 1. There have been a few points in history where it was like 8 to 1 when there was a huge swing, like when you look at the Hunt brothers back in the 80s when they cornered the market and drove the price up to $50-something an ounce. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think you could see a $4,000 gold and $100,000 silver if it reverted to the mean. Things tend to go beyond the mean, though. So maybe you saw like $150 silver, but you'd have to sell it at that price and then realize the capital gains on it. I don't know. I like silver and gold for hedges just against inflation for my emergency fund. They're not investments for me. And I have more gold than I have silver. But, again, it is the most undervalued asset if you look at the chart in comparison to anything else on the planet aside from some of these digital assets. So I hope people make a bunch of money on it if that's your intention with it. I know a lot of people that own a lot of silver because they listen to Andy Schechtman and, Mike Maloney and Peter Schiff and a bunch of these other guys that are very intelligent guys. Not knocking them at all. The cost of silver, if it were to spike like that, would have huge implications for all of the manufacturers. There's silver in almost every piece of electronic that you use today. And so unless we had, a surge in graphene or some other competitor that really brought down the cost of the competition, they're going to continue to use silver. And I just don't see as much upside there as a lot of other people have speculated. And that's my personal opinion. I'm just giving it to you straight, right? So what the group that you have here, I think, will make a lot of money and is a good diversified portfolio if you wanted to look at it that way. So appreciate the super chat, and hopefully, probably not exactly what you wanted to hear, but yeah. We got a couple people over here asking for anything on HBAR. HBAR is my number 2. Like if I had to pick between HBAR and XLM, I would choose HBAR over XLM. I think there's more upside there than in XLM over the long term. I really like HBAR. The council there is awesome. I think that they're going to be embedded in almost every Web3 application, and the majority of dApps are going to be run on that network. I look at ICP as a competitor, not Insane Clown Posse, but Internet Computer, to Hedera and Hashgraph, which is the blockchain there. Hedera is the company. And they're here in Dallas with me. So maybe I'm a little partial on that also, take it with a grain of salt, but I like HBAR over almost everything else except for XRP. We have Storm Striker. They say opinion on XHS, so Stronghold versus Velo versus Onyx and their future price. No clue. I've run it on Stronghold. If they got like 1% of the payment market, it could be like $50 Stronghold. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near that. Stripe, I think, currently processes like 2.5% of global payments for retail. You've also got competitors like PayPal. You've got Visa, MasterCard, Amex. Like there's just too many people in that space that are already going to adopt the technology, that are going to come out with their own stablecoin and incentivize people. But again, I think they're early, and I think that they have a really good application for it, and they're spot on. I just don't know. I mean, they didn't even email me back. I've emailed them trying to be a user of their platform like multiple times and never got a response from them. So obviously they don't want to make that much money. Anyway, maybe I'm salty. Maybe I'm salty about it. Velo, I think Velo is very interesting. It's a layer 2. So both these are layer 2s on Hyperledger for people that don't know. So layer 1 is going to be like a base layer network where transactions are going to settle. And then these are smart contract applications using Sora-band smart contracts on Hyperledger. And so Velo is pretty interesting, liquidity pools and borrow lend and kind of securities trading on top of Hyperledger. I would say Velo probably has a higher, if I was going to bet, and again, just take it with a grain of salt, just shooting from the hip here. I think Velo probably has a better long-term price potential than Stronghold, personally, if I was going to pick between the two, because that's what you asked me to do here. And then, if I had to go Velo against Onyx, I'd probably pick Onyx over Velo. And the reason for that is, which is XCN for people that are watching over here that don't see the comment on YouTube. JP Morgan's they're the largest bank in the world, right? So if that token really is associated, and we'll see, if it is associated with their infrastructure, it's an EVM compatible network, and it's providing liquidity for the transactions for them to settle, outside of their own stablecoin, which is JPM coin. This person says XCN has nothing to do with JP Morgan. See, that's what I don't know. There's people keep telling me both sides. I don't know if it is or not. I'm not saying it is either way. I'm just telling you what I read on the internet. I don't have a horse in the race with this one. Okay. So if it is, I think that it could be more valuable than Velo. If it's not, if it's, fake news, then probably not. I think that they have a really good narrative, and it's already run up a good bit. So maybe the gains are gone on it. I don't know. I'm not in any of those positions. I don't know any of these tokens. I'm just giving you my 2 cents on them. This person said he sent me a message. Cool. I'll take a look at it. Because again, I don't know. I'm just going off what I read on the internet, which, like everybody else. But the thing that's different about me with XRP specifically is I don't go off what I read on the internet. I talk to Ripple. We talk to R3. We work with other people that are building things in the ecosystem. I intimately know these people and have had conversations with a ton of them. That's why I'm so confident in that asset over anything else, and that's why I'm siloed in my position there. Because for me, I can't say that it's a sure bet on public, anything public, but for me personally, I have a very 100% conviction that it's going to be everything that people have said and more. But there's outside events. It's not like it's just a magic $10,000 token like people are hoping for. there will have to be catalysts and things that take place for that to happen, but I do think that those are going to transpire. Let's see here. Trying to catch any more super chats. We got a couple of them. We got Off the Grid Hero says, so Ledger not trustworthy. How about multiple? Look, I've got one here on my desk. I don't use it. So however you want to take that. I don't use it. It's not something that I'll put my stuff on anymore. You can do whatever you want. I've seen too much at this point for me to feel comfortable with it, and I'm not going to hold my assets on there. Let's see here. Falcon 33. Thoughts on Caleb and Brown, Fireblocks custody. Can you recommend a crypto-friendly financial advisor in Australia? Digital Wealth Partners would be your only option. We actually did a loan for a gentleman. He was our first loan against his XRP, was there in Australia. So we provide financial services and wealth management for anybody globally. Doesn't matter where you reside. We get that question all the time. Do you take international clients? Absolutely. If you meet the qualifications, you have over 100,000 XRP or you have over $400,000 in crypto, we will work with you. And we can provide financial services. We are above board anywhere in the world. Australia is the most financially stringent jurisdiction on the planet, and we can work with people that live there or have their trust there. A lot of those people, like yourself, Aussies there in Australia, set things up offshore. BVI is a commonplace. Singapore is a commonplace. A lot of the family offices that we've talked to there have their stuff offshore, either in New Zealand or the Cook Islands or in British Virgin Islands or Singapore. There's high taxes. Anything under the Parliament, the Crown, they're going to get theirs, right? So whatever you can do to mitigate taxes, I think is a good idea. But yeah, we can absolutely work with you if that's something you're interested in. You just want to go to digitalwealthpartners.net. There's a contact us form there, and you can fill out the application, and one of our advisors will reach out. Memberships gifted. Yeah, Kevin normally gives some membership on here. Shout out to Kevin Huber and his team up there at IT Outlets. If you need IT services, people that, anything IT services related, they do a fantastic job. Security, they work with a lot of high-level players to store their data and provide secure infrastructure and services to that. Shout out to him and his team. Appreciate them. They're an OG, been here since the beginning. 2020 Facebook group for Jake. Anyway, like 5 people on the call. We got almost 700 people over here on YouTube tonight, and we've got almost 200 people here on TikTok. Thank you all for hanging out and asking good questions. Really do appreciate everybody taking the time out on a Monday night. Maybe I should skip Wednesdays more often. We got more people on here than usual. Let's do it one night a week. I'm just kidding. We'll be back Wednesday. This person had already asked that question. Let me make sure I don't have any other super chats before we jump over here to TikTok, and we'll run it down here in the chat with a few people on that side. We got one more super chat here. We got Buddies, Spirits, and Cigars. Okay, I like the name. I'm into that. He says, great meeting you last night at dinner. Awesome, brother. Appreciate you being there. Glad I didn't make you look too short in the picture we took. Great times. Yeah, man. So you and Zach Rector are like the same height. You guys are like 6'5". So you would know that. Like you see Zach on the deal and you're like, he looks good. He's a sharp looking guy. Then you meet him in person, you're like looking up at him, So yeah, appreciate you, taking the time out and coming out for the dinner. Like I said, at the beginning of this, we had a few less people on here, but we did have in real life event there in Arkansas last night in Fort Smith. There at 21, which is the restaurant that Kevin Dory has. Shout out to him for hosting us. That's one of the things we have in the Mastermind. So if you're not part of that community, we would love to have you there. If you want to check it out, we have almost 1,400 people there in the Mastermind, which is just mind-blowing to me. We started that group 2 years ago on a hope and a dream, and we had about 200 people sign up off of Twitter, paid $25 to get in, and then we've built it from there. We have a website. We have an app that's coming out here hopefully within the next week. We've got a book that we wrote this last year that talks about how to syndicate deals. We do a lot of private deals there in the group. If you want to go check this out, it's on Amazon. It's Wealth in Numbers. You can look it up. You just put my name in, or Max Avery's my partner in the mastermind, and also he wrote the majority of the book. Just so you guys know, I was like, had an overview on it. He spent a lot of time on that. Really do appreciate him. And I think that's going to be awesome for another company that we have together called Syndicately, where we provide end-to-end fund administration for Reg D deals here in the U.S. to be able to syndicate capital in a 506B or 506C Reg D fund. I know this is probably like drinking from a fire hose. But anyway, we use those there in the group to allow sophisticated investors to participate with us on fintech investments. We have a lot of allocations to Ripple and a few other fintech companies and some other investments that we've done there in the group. It's been really cool. There was, when I was on Twitter talking a lot, everyone was like, yeah, we'll run an investment group. And then nobody ever really did it. We've done 16 successful deals over the last 2 years, getting our members access to stuff that they otherwise wouldn't have the ability to because they don't meet the accreditation requirements traditionally. We are allowed to involve up to 35 non-accredited investors on each deal that we do because of the way we've structured it there in the mastermind. I am not allowed to talk about those deals publicly because of the SEC and the regulations. I would love to. If you want to learn more about that, we'd love to have you in the group. And it sounds like I'm like shilling the group, but I am, but I want people to have access to stuff that they otherwise wouldn't have. So if you want to check it out for a free month, it is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO. Hold on. When you check out, so you go to mastermind.beyondbroke.com and you can get in social or Carbon One. Just go check it out again at checkout for a free month. If you don't like it, you cancel. Like, it's not a big deal to us. We just want to be able to provide value for people and let people test it out. All the masterminds I've been a part of, I've had to pay $3,000 or more up front just to get access to the community. I tried to put this together in a way that it's economical and reasonable for almost anybody to get exposure and learn. On the other side of price appreciation, we're going to cut it off. And it's going to be 10x on all the prices. So the $25 social membership goes to $250 a month. The Carbon One goes to $1,000 a month. And we're going to scrutinize everybody that comes in on the other side of a $10 XRP. We're going to be very protective of that group of people because there's a lot of people in there that hold pretty significant allocations to digital assets, and they're going to be doing very well on the other side of regulations and implementation for utility for these networks. And we'll continue to just build out awesome products and services there for that group. And again, continue to run deals at scale to get people access. We had an allocation to SpaceX earlier this year that we could have done. I currently have an allocation to a quantum proof software company that's out of this world. Like, they're going to be the winner, hands down. And we bring those to our people in Carbon 2 and higher when we have that stuff. So that's actually something I'll talk about tomorrow night on the call with those guys. This is a $1 million deal that'll be worth 24x within just a short period of time. So anyway, stuff like that, we're going to continue to bring value to the group and everything there. If you would like, again, to be a part of it, you can check it out. It's mastermind.beyondbroke.com, and the code for the free month is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, just like it's spelled up here. The number 1 and then MO, like Mary Oscar. Let's see. James Hall, he said, did you say something about accredited? We did say something about accredited. So they're in the group. You don't have to be accredited to get access to the private investments. For Digital Wealth Partners and DWP at this time, it's not my choice, James. I'm sorry. I tried to get it the other way. Believe me. And I'm still pushing for it. I'm going to make it happen. But at this current time, you do have to be accredited to be able to earn returns there with Digital Wealth Partners on your XRP. Kevin, appreciate you, brother. I got to get your money from last night, so remind me one more time when we get off here. Thank you for sending me your Cash App. And again, thank you for hosting and having everybody there at your restaurant. It was a beautiful place and a fantastic meal. Let's see here. Just want to make sure I didn't miss any other super chats. I'm bad about that. We have Hunter He says, what events take XRP way up close to $100 mark? Case dropped, regs, ETFs, bank adoption, what else? Timeline-ish. The ETFs, that's going to be the deal. So there's a bunch of other things that are kind of prerequisites to that. Obviously, you mentioned a few here. The case is going to have to be, there's going to have to be some settlement of the Ripple case with the SEC. We're currently still in the appeals process. They've got something due in April. I think that as soon as Paul gets in here, he's just going to settle this thing. And then they'll walk away, and then they'll approve the ETFs, and off she goes. That's kind of my 2 cents about it. There's been a lot of, rumblings over the years of price before law. What does that mean? I don't know. Does that mean price before the case ends? Does that mean price before congressional legislation? Like, it's just kind of ambiguous, right? And I think a lot of the stuff out there is that way for a reason. But it definitely draws people in, and there's an allure, and it's definitely interesting to, mentally masturbate about a lot of this stuff. But for me, it's the ETFs in particular. When they roll those out, that's when you're going to see liquidity pour into XRP and drive the price up to where people are wanting it to be, to live their lives and enjoy, the patience. There's been a ton of people that have been very patient for a long time on this asset and owning it and holding it. And I think you're going to reap the fruits of that in the very near future. So yes, time frame. I expect that by the end, I'm going to go ahead and make the claim, write it down. Jake says that he believes that XRP will be 4 digits this year in 2025. So if I'm off the mark a little bit and it's in the hundreds, I don't think people are going to be mad at me, but I do think we're going to see at least $1,000 XRP here in 2025. I think this is the year of stablecoins. I think this is the year of regulation. I think there's going to be a ton, the ETFs, all of it. I think we're going to have a Cambrian explosion for utility-driven assets here in 2025. Let's see, make sure I don't miss any other ones. Thoughts on Algorand? I really like Algorand. Aaron, appreciate the super chat. So we did some business with a family office that was a lead investor on Algorand. I think, I'm sad about the native staking that they had and that they turned that off. I think that was BS. It was super cool to just hold Algorand and get a daily staking reward. I think that'll come back. I think that, once, now that SOB 121's been refuted, and I think that the SEC is going to be, progressive on digital assets, I think a lot of the stuff will be unwound that the previous SEC rolled out against digital assets, and they'll start to foster innovation. I think staking rewards will come back. I really like Algorand. I think it's the main blockchain that you're going to see stable coins issued on for like third world nations. So especially in Africa, I think there's going to be a ton of adoption of Algorand in Africa and South America. Those are the main 2 regions that I think you're going to see that blockchain in particular take a large share of the demographic on. So that's my 2 cents. Price appreciation on it, I have no clue. I'd have to look at. It's easy for me to look at XRP or XLM or some of these other ones and go, okay, if it facilitates this use case, and this is the supply, and this is demand, and these are the networks and current, payment flows, and this is what's available, boom, here's the price. That's what it has to be. I don't know what that looks like for Algorand. I don't know what the GDP of Africa and South America is. I don't know what specific applications they're going to end up winning in those regions with the stablecoins that are issued on that network. If I had a clearer picture of their long-term goals for the demographic that they're going after, I could work back to the supply and the transactional volume that'll move over the network and have a much clearer picture of what the price appreciation is going to be. So if you want to do that, if you want to go sort through that and come back with it, I think that would be very valuable information for people. All right, so I think we've been through all the super chats over here. Just make sure I'm not missing anything. James, appreciate you on the super chat, brother. He said, did you see the Jack Dorsey AI video where he posted Michael Saylor turning into XRP coin? Max did send me that. I thought that was very interesting. Jack Dorsey knows. Jack Dorsey's been in Bitcoin a long time, and now you're starting to see people flip, and that's the tell for me. Like, you had Mark Yusko. He's always not liked XRP, and then he was like, well, I think it's going to get adopted by the banks for the payment infrastructure. He wouldn't say that. Like, he had, like, people don't want to eat their own words. You know what I mean? So for him to come out and say that on the Inauguration Day podcast, that's a big deal. And I think you're seeing a lot of people start to capitulate. You saw Gary Cardone, hedge a little bit the other day. He was like, yeah, I own 31,000 XRP, but it makes up nothing of my portfolio, and it's not a big deal. And, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Just bought some just in case at $1.45. Man, just say you want to hedge a little bit because you're not sure if you're right or wrong, and you've heard some rumblings that you should buy some. I think people would just have a little bit more respect instead of like dogging it or saying it's trash. Just be like, well, maybe I was wrong, and I'm starting to see that there might be something here, and so I went ahead and bought an allocation. And I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm hedging because maybe I don't know everything. I think people will respect people that say that more instead of trash talking and like just CYA. Anyway, yeah, I did see that. I thought it was very interesting, and again, I think it's a tell that we're very close to things transpiring here. There was another one from Uphold where the coin was like flipping, and then it was XRP and it flipped off of Bitcoin. So like XRP was on top of Bitcoin. Also very interesting. And I do think I'm going to make the same, prediction. This year in 2025, XRP will flip Bitcoin for the number one market cap crypto. He says, I think XRP to 1K in 2025, but also people say there's too much supply in market cap that would be worth the entire crypto market cap. I hope we do though. Yeah. So, and I've talked about this before. People have a hard time reconciling market cap in crypto. It makes a lot of sense for stocks. So you look at outstanding shares, the current order book and liquidity, and where the stock price is trading, and then you multiply the share price that it's trading at by outstanding shares. Cool. Get market cap. That's a liquid market. And it makes sense for a company and the EBITDA or the multiple that they're getting on that stock. And you can use that ratio to understand whether it's overvalued or undervalued. If you use Ben Graham, in his investing thesis, and you look at Warren Buffett, we've got, my CIO, Matt Schneider, wrote this book. It's Warren Buffett in a Web3 World. Highly recommend if you guys want to check it out. Ben Graham and the value investing that he put out back in, this had to have been like the 20s. A lot of people made a lot of money that way, and you're able to do that with a market cap. You can look at what the revenues are of a company and then look at the multiples and go, is this undervalued or overvalued? Do I think they're going to make more money in the future? It's very different with a network or a protocol. Okay, I think that they're going to move from looking at things in a way where it is a market cap standard to something that's like a liquidity provision. How liquid is this network, right? And with that, imagine if a penny was sent every single time an email was sent. Okay, imagine what the market cap of whatever that penny or piece of value would be. There's so many emails that are sent every single day. That's a protocol, right? So imagine you had to pay with a penny every single time you sent an email. Man, that'd be a pretty large cost over time. I get 300 to 400 emails a day, right? So that's $3 or $4 every single day that you'd be spending on email. Imagine a network that moves value at scale similar to email. And that's what this stuff is. So it's just a completely different mechanism. It's comparing apples to oranges when you look at a stock versus a network or protocol. And you look at a token associated with moving value. It's hard for people to comprehend that there's going to be this many outstanding shares. And people still call them shares. Like Gary Cardone called XRP shares the other day, and I was like, oh God. Okay, you're a Bitcoin maxi, and you don't even know that these are tokens or assets that move value within a protocol. Anyway, and I think that's just try to be relatable with people because that's a term that they understand. So maybe that's where he was headed with it. But it's not the same thing. And to correlate the two and address it by market cap, I think is just, it's not the right way to look at it. And the space is still nascent, right? So the total, to your point here, the total market cap for crypto, I think we liquidated like $1 trillion yesterday, which was crazy. So we went from 3 trillion to 2 trillion. It's still a gnat on an elephant's butt, right? Like, you've got traditional stocks. The stock market's worth $600 trillion. There's over 100,000 transactions it's like it's over 100,000 transactions that happen per day. Maybe it's 100 million. I think it's 100 million transactions that happen per day on the back end of the stock market between the brokers and the clearinghouse. Close to $5 or $6 trillion in value settled daily between those parties. Imagine, using a technology to be able to settle that. Well, if you only had 1 billion XRP that was allocated for settling that, like R3 was allocated, then, just to settle the back end of the stock market, you would need a $600 XRP, right? If it's $6 trillion and you got 1 billion, actually be $6,000 XRP. Sorry, was off on the math there. But you can use the same XRP up to 10 times a day, according to the calculator that Robbie Mitchnick, the head of digital assets at BlackRock, created for XRP when he worked at Ripple. He mentioned that you could use the same XRP up to 10 times a day. So let's say even then you had 1 billion XRP moving $6 trillion and you could use the same XRP 10 times a day. That's still a $600 XRP. That's supply and demand. Like, whatever you want to call market cap, cool. But in order to move that value, that's the liquidity that's required at scale to be able to do that. And that's the demand on the network and for the token to be able to facilitate the settlement for those transactions. So I don't think people look at it that way. Like I said, I think they look at it like a stock, and that's the paradigm that they've constructed in their mind around this stuff. And so it's hard for them to understand and separate that from what it really is. Hopefully that was valuable for you. Thank you again for the super chat, sir. We're going on about an hour now. We'll hang out for another 30 minutes here, and then we'll run it down and shut it down tonight. Then we'll be back Wednesday. I won't miss Wednesday this week. I'm not traveling. James Hall says, hit the like button. Thank you, brother. I never say that on here. If you wouldn't mind, if you are getting value here, please subscribe, like, share. It does help the algorithm and it does help people out, and we do appreciate it. Appreciate everybody, that takes time out of their schedule, of their evening with their family to hang out on here with me and listen to me ramble on about this crazy stuff. We've got Tony over here. He said you'd come back. I'll be coming to TikTok to answer questions. What happened? I'm over here, Tony. Where's your question, man? Sorry. And here's the deal. People pay over here on YouTube, and I don't want to skip those. I've done that before, and then I feel bad. So if you, I don't know if people can pay over here on TikTok or not, but if you could, then I would make sure that those were answered too. He says, Thomas says, is it possible for them to stop selling XRP and the people that has it all can get in? Is it possible for them to stop selling XRP and the people that has it all is all it can get in? Yeah, there could be a situation, and I do think it may happen, where the exchanges are no longer have XRP that they're willing to sell. They may use it as their own liquidity provision to settle transactions. And you can even see this. So again, if you go on XRP Scan, you can look up Coinbase, and they'll have 12 or 13 wallets. Only one of those wallets is used for their exchange, for their ability to sell XRP. It's a pooled, group of assets there that, is allocated to the people that have the tags associated with their accounts. The rest of those wallets are their wallets for their XRP. So same thing for Uphold, same thing for Kraken, same thing for Anchorage, same thing for Komeinu, KuCoin, BitTrue, Bitstamp. Like, you can get on there and you can see all of the wallets associated with all those exchanges, and only one of those is actually the one that holds their clients' XRP. They have their own XRP for all of those exchanges. And so, once that's gone, once it gets bought up by retail or the ETFs, I don't think they're going to be willing to sell their XRP, because they're going to need it on their books to be able to settle transactions in their exchange. XRP is its own decentralized exchange. It's a DEX. It's built into the network. So any issued asset or anything that can be transacted over a sidechain can settle through XRP and be swapped immediately through the DEX. And it has order book routing, where it finds the least amount of resistance and matches those things. So it's the only thing like that on the planet that does that in that way. The person says, do you prefer the actual card for decent cold storage or the device? Either or, but I like the device over the card alone. He says, so more in depth with one of the exchange, stop selling XRP, is our money gone? I don't know what's going to happen if, so let's say the government, does put XRP in the reserve. Okay, they come out, they say that that's going to happen. They could make it systemically important, just like they did with gold in 1933. They could make it systemically important like they did with other stuff in 2008. They've done that with, companies and institutions and made them too big to fail and bailed them out. There could be a situation where they say, hey, it's maybe there's a settlement with the lawsuit, and they come out and they say, no, you can't sell XRP on the secondary market because it's you have to be a broker dealer. There's a lot of stuff that could transpire, right, where it makes it very difficult for anybody that doesn't have XRP to get XRP. I think that that's quite the possibility, to be honest with you, especially if it goes to the values that I think it's going to. I think that'll actually trade at a premium. So like gold, there's a spot price of gold, and then there's a premium that you pay for, the physical. I think that'll be something similar for XRP, but I think it'll be a lot more. I think people won't be willing to sell their XRP at the current value. They'll be like, give me like $200, $300, $500 more on the XRP, and yeah, we'll talk about it. Anyway, very interesting, but we'll have to see how it plays out. I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, XRP will always be available. I don't know, man. I don't see it happening that way. Alan says market cap is not the total amount of capital invested in XRP. It's the total supply plus last price sold. That is correct, Alan. So this is, this is a crude way to talk about market cap. I'm just going to start with that, but this is my correlation. I mint a billion Jake token. Okay, I got 1 billion Jake tokens, and I go out to the market and I sell one of those Jake tokens to my mom for $1. She pays $1 on an exchange for it. I now have $1 billion market cap token, Jake token, because one Jake token sold for $1, and I've got 1 billion of them. That's how market cap works. It's crude. I know that it is. It's not exactly. It doesn't, have all of the dynamics there. There's not like a fully liquid order book and a bunch of things. But my point is, that's how market cap works, and it illustrates it well for people where they're like, oh, that's the end all be all. Well, it's not really. Rob says, how does a cold wallet get hacked? There's a bunch of different ways. This is a good question, so I'm going to run this down for people before we come over here to the super chat. So anytime you give up your keys to somebody else, that's how they get into your wallet. So most of the time when you set up a wallet, it could be Decent, Ledger, any of them, you're going to get a seed phrase. They're going to give you 16 or 24 characters that you're going to write down on a piece of paper. Do not take a picture of it. Do not put it on your notes in your phone. Do not hold it in your computer. Anywhere that's accessible online. Write it down on a piece of paper. You're going to photocopy that like 3 times. Okay, and you're going to hold that in a couple different locations. If you want to get, there's some people that make like the arc plate where you can like stamp the numbers into the metal plate. So if there's a fire, you still have them. Those are all good solutions. Okay. When somebody gets those seed phrases, those are your keys, and they're then able to recreate your wallet on another device and then take your stuff. So that's done through phishing. Sometimes people get emails from Ledger or a device provider, and they say, hey, we're updating our software. We need your keys. That's a scam. Never give anybody your keys, ever. Okay. The other thing that I've seen that's happened is when you buy a wallet from a different manufacturer, not from the manufacturer. So let's say you buy it off eBay or you buy it off Amazon. Whoever got that wallet and then sold it to you could have opened it up, created the seed phrase on there, written the keywords down, shut it back down, repackaged it, and mailed it to you. And when you put your stuff on there, a couple years later, 6 months later, however long, they can recreate that wallet, check and see if there's anything in there, and then take those assets. Only buy a cold wallet directly from the manufacturers. Ledger updated their firmware, and they came out and said that there was going to be a backdoor for the NSA or other government people to have visibility and take assets. No, not for me. No, thank you. So that's when I took everything off my ledger, and I haven't ever used them since. That's my prerogative. That's my position on it. Not saying they're a bad company. You know, the CEO just was recently kidnapped and then brutalized and extorted. I don't know why. I'm glad that he is safe and okay, and that they got him out of that situation. You know, CEOs that are getting extorted and kidnapped, probably not good. Somebody's mad if they're doing that, right? So I won't use Ledger. I like Decent, like I said before. Another way that it could get hacked is there's a backdoor, or somebody could install keystroke software on your device, and then you log in and put your password in, and then they're able to get that and recreate that on their laptop, and then log into your device, you know, without you knowing. Or if it's connected to your device, somebody could do a SIM swap on your phone if that's the only way that you're accessing this stuff. Be aware of that. That's a possibility and an issue. Hackers are creative, man. There's going to be a ton of other ways, especially with quantum computers and other things that come out. If you have both keys exposed, if you've sent into a wallet and sent out of a wallet, you've exposed both of the keys, and there are algorithms and computers that could potentially hack that at this point. I don't think it's necessarily a large concern at the current time, but I think within the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to be a huge concern, and that's why I think institutional custody is going to become much more prevalent. And I think this is also the narrative that a lot of the investment banks are going to use to get people to move their assets over into institutional custody. I'm just there early. We've already created it. I see where the puck is moving. I'd rather get there before everybody else. And it is better, you know. Anyway, those are the main ways that I've seen people lose their assets inside of a cold wallet. There's lots of other ways people have lost their assets in Ponzi schemes and DeFi protocols and on hot wallets or on exchanges. Yeah, I just want a safe place for people to be able to keep their stuff. And that's why we created Digital Wealth Partners, and then we have the institutional custody. It's a multi-sig wallet. You know, you and us have to sign on it to remove assets. There's multiple sharded keys that have to come back together. It's the best product that exists on the market currently for holding assets and mitigating their loss. And that's why they're able to have $100 million worth of crime insurance on the accounts there. So got a couple more super chats over here, so I'm going to jump back to YouTube. Fire Marshal Bill, good to see you in here, brother. Honest Aim, thank you for the super chat. He says, thanks for all that you do, Jake. Awesome dinner last night in Arkansas at Kevin's restaurant. Met so many good friends. Group is growing so fast. Great to see Connor again. Keep up the great work. White Rock. I think that, over time, there's a high potential that working with us and the amount of assets that we're currently managing will be in excess of $5 or $10 trillion, which sounds absurd. But over the next 5 or 10 years, if XRP does appreciate to the values that a lot of people are hopeful for, and I'm hopeful for, there's quite the possibility that might transpire. And that provides a lot of leverage, right? We go to partners, we go to lenders, we go to other people. And with that amount of money, like you alone, you're going to have a lot of money. If you're invested in these assets, you're already rich, okay? You just don't know it yet. It's not tangible. It's coming soon. If you partner with other people that are also at that level and you come together under like a unified vision, and again, we segregate all the accounts. They're never commingled. They're all separated. They're all insured, completely separate, and we advise people specific to their situation. But it comes as a unified force when we go to work with partners, right? And we're able to get the best deals because of that. We're able to get lower interest rates or higher interest rates on returns. We're able to garner relationships and partnerships that other people won't be able to get. We have a call this week with somebody at BlackRock. So anyway, super awesome. Thank you again for the super chat and all your support, brother. Excited for the future with you and your wife. We got Hunter. He says, if you're willing, I'd like to know your story for sales to create Beyond Broke. Kudos on your success. I like winning stories. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I'm happy to run it down, and we'll hang out here for another 15 minutes or so. So, excuse me. Really kind of started in 2020. So I had gone to nationals that year, competed in bodybuilding, was 225 pounds at about 5% body fat. You know, people are like, you look like Jack Reacher. When I was in the movie here recently. I spent 10 years bodybuilding, and I really, after that show, I didn't place well, and I'd gone to school for finance, and I started bulking because they told me, like, look, you're going to have to be a bodybuilder. You're too big for classic, because I dwarfed everybody on the stage, and then they still didn't place me high, and I was like, what the hell? It's supposed to be the biggest, leanest guy that wins. So my boy's like 3 at the time, and I start bulking up, and I put on 50 pounds in a very short period of time, like 6 weeks. So I'm still like 8 or 9% body fat, close to 260, 270 pounds. Bench pressing, 315 on incline for 25 reps. And I'm monitoring my health because I'm aware of it, right? And so I'm testing my blood sugar in the morning. I'm testing my resting heart rate. I'm testing my blood pressure. And one morning I woke up and my resting heart rate was 95 and my blood pressure was like 130 over 90, which isn't bad. It's still not like hypertension or anything bad, but it had risen because I'm normally like always 120 over 8 all the time. I have really good health. So I decided at that point that I probably needed to forego the bodybuilding. It was never going to I was never going to be Mr. Olympia or anything. And so I pivoted and I turned my attention to business and finance and the sales job that I had at the time, which was selling bearings and motors and belts and chains and industrial supplies. So wanted to help them, and they brought me on to scale their business. And so I turned my full attention to that. I started just ingesting as much as I could for business and finance every single day on YouTube. I was watching, I don't know, 5 to 10 hours worth of YouTube every single day from people that I thought were smarter than me, that had done well in whatever application, right? Whatever vertical. It could be commodities, it could be day trading, it could be insurance, it could be, stocks, equities, and digital assets was kind of later on. So I'm just trying to get a mindset shift. And at the time, I also started putting out videos on Facebook. And every day I would, and I hated the sound of my voice before I started doing this. And I don't know if other people have the same deal. We'll just pivot cameras here. Let's see. Oh no. We'll just hop over here. Sorry about the technical issues. Here we go. Oh no, that's a horrible. Let's see. Yeah, that's okay. I'm very red, but it is what it is. So anyway, I started doing that and just ingesting as much content as I could and started making the videos on YouTube. And I was horrible at it at the time. Actually, it was Facebook. And I would just do a live every single morning and talk about, different motivational things or things that I had read or different life principles that I have. And I had a few people that would come on and watch them. And then I did really well in crypto in 20 and 21. And the reason I did that was I took a bunch of money that I had saved up for my wife and I to buy a home. And I dumped that into the stock market along with my 401k when COVID happened. And rode that back up, made a bunch of money there. And then, about May, June of 2020 is when I started looking at digital assets. I watched a debate between Peter Schiff and a Bitcoin guy. And when the Bitcoin guy talked about the technology and what it was doing, I was like, that was my aha moment. Like, okay, now I know why everybody was crazy in 2017 about this stuff. And so I dove in, I took everything that I made in stocks, rolled it all to crypto, and I got in like Theta at like 9 cents. I got in Cardano at like 7 cents. I got in VeChain under a penny. I got in Quant at like $7. XRP at like 15 or 16 cents, I think was my best buy. XLM at under 9 cents. I bought some ETH. XDC at 300ths of a penny. Like I tried to look for things that I thought were going to be. I invested the same way I would in the stock market. I looked at the team, I looked at their partnerships, I looked at the use case, I looked at the business, and how they were going to, generate returns using the token. And I speculated, obviously, like everybody else does, on which ones were going to be good. Cardano, I think I got Cardano at like 7 or 9 cents, somewhere in there too. So all of it took off in 2020. Theta went to $15. I sold way too early on that. Chainlink, I got in that at like $3 or $4. Anyway, did really well. And at the end of 21, I should have taken more profits, like everybody else. I took some. But I was like, all right, I need to find all the people that are going to be able to help me make sure I don't mess this up. Because I never came from money. My family didn't have money. When my dad passed away, he barely had over $1 million, between his home and everything else that he accumulated over his lifetime, which isn't bad, by the way. I'm not like dogging that. I'm just saying, like, didn't ever have the amount of money that I made. And I never had anybody around me that made that much money. So I was like, all right, I need CPAs, I need wealth planners, like I went to school for finance, and so I kind of had an idea of who I needed to surround myself with. And I started smiling and dialing like I had during sales and just calling up all the firms across the US that I thought, okay, like some of these guys got to know what they're doing. And I whittled it down to like the 25 people we work with now. And so in 22, I just started getting on Twitter every single day and going back and forth, looking at price, what was going on. Part of the XRP community. At that point, I consolidated my position, everything that I owned, in like February or March of 22 into XRP. And I've held it for a long time. And finally, we're up on that position. But anyway, with that, I started talking on Twitter about a lot of this stuff, and people just kind of gave me the deer in the headlights look. They didn't realize you could set up your estate for crypto. They didn't know that you could mitigate taxes. They didn't know, that there was institutional custody or any of the other things that I was talking about that I saw on the horizon. And some people were nice enough to make introductions to some family offices, and I started consulting for them on their portfolios. And before you knew it, they told their friends, and that's kind of how family office works. Like, people only make introductions to people that they feel are trustworthy and will help somebody else. And almost everybody in family office is always very giving. I've never run into anybody that runs a family office that doesn't ask me, how can I help you? And that's something I ask in every single conversation. What are you looking to do over the long term? How can I help you get there? And that's how the wealthy people of the world operate. They're always looking to provide as much value as they can to other people, and they don't even care if you reciprocate. It's great if you do, and there's reciprocity and you develop a relationship, but they'll make introductions. If you're a good person, you have good intentions, and you want to help people, and they can read that, they're very nice and very helpful. And I've been very blessed to meet a lot of really good people, and they've made a lot of really good introductions for me. So over that time, we built out the full scope of services. We started the Mastermind after about 8 months of me just shooting my mouth off on Twitter on every Saturday morning. I was consistent. I would always get on there and do a live. We had a couple thousand people at one point there on Twitter that were listening to my lives over the weekends. And anyway, just decided, I met Max Avery, who's my partner in a lot of this stuff. We went down to see Jimmy in Houston for the Red Folder Committee. That was that was December of 23 and 22. And then we launched the Mastermind. You spend 4 hours in a truck driving with somebody, you get to know them pretty well. And anyway, I asked him, I'm like, hey, I don't think I can do this by myself. I need a partner. And he was like, same thing. I've always wanted to do something like this, but I've never had anybody I could run with that wanted to keep up. And so anyway, we launched the Mastermind, and it's kind of history since. We just continued to build everything out as fast as we could. It's not been easy. It's not always been fun. I can tell you that. But I wake up every day excited to do what I'm doing. I feel like I have a purpose. I get a lot of fulfillment from this. Haven't really made any money in 2 years. But I can see where it's going, and I want to create something so that people have an option where they don't have to sell. 589 people watching on YouTube right now. Very cool. I just want to make sure that people have an option. If they want to earn returns on their XRP and they don't want to liquidate it, if they want to be able to borrow against it, not liquidate it, and deal with the taxes. Hopefully Trump makes it all tax-free, right? But I got to live in the world that exists. And so we want to make sure that we're buttoned up and we've set things up in a way that we can mitigate all risks or possibilities for people and provide the most value. So anyway, I know that was very long-winded, but you asked me for it, so I figured I'd share, kind of where I started and why I ended up here, and appreciate the question. Had a lot of people over here on the redneck says, did he just say 589? Yes, we have 589 people watching on YouTube right now, so that's why I mentioned it. Let's see if we got any more super chats before we wrap it up tonight. We've got Off the Grid Hero. He says year 2040 XRP XLM holders versus UBI peoples. I don't think it's going to be that, like, you're not just going to have no options if you have UBI. Okay, that's going to happen. There's going to be universal basic income, and it's not going to be because taxpayers are paying for that. There's going to be ways that governments themselves generate so much value with a lot of the technologies that come about that they're able to pay. People call it a freedom dividend. Like they'll shill it and make it sound good, but it's going to be some type of universal basic income. I think people are going to need it. Look, I'm not trying to sound dystopian. I think everything ends up somewhere in the middle. I think there's a way to do it where it's economical and reasonable for people, where you still incentivize capitalism and drive GDP, but provide people some value on their ability to sustain, just basic things and necessities in their life. But the people that are holding these digital assets are going to be very well off in comparison to the majority of people. I would agree with you there. Daniel Smith, he says half on Caleb and Brown and half on a cold wallet. Yeah, everybody's got their position. I think it's wise to hold across a couple different things. Have all my assets in institutional custody. I sleep really well at night. A lot of our clients do the same. But Caleb and Brown's good. I bought some on there today too. Kraken's another good one. If whatever you're going to sell, I think it's great to hold on like Uphold or Caleb and Brown, which are brokers and can source liquidity. So as price escalates, when it does move significantly higher, whatever your exit strategy is and what that looks like, make sure you execute. It's never wrong to take profits and lock those in. Just be aware that over the long term, you might be sad about that. People that sold their Bitcoin at $100, probably a little bit sad about not keeping at least some. That's probably the biggest lesson I learned in 20 and 21 is to scale in and scale out and not just jump in and jump out completely. Like Blockchain Backer, he always leaves 35% for the long haul. He'll take 65% profits at certain price points. I think that's a fantastic way to look at things because you have liquidity for your family and your needs, and you kind of work that back and see the lifestyle that you want to live, the tax implications, what that's going to look like. And then you have 35% of your bag that's just in perpetuity for forever to the upside. Because you never know where it's going to go over the long term. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, not financial advice, just some guy on the internet. What's this person say? Something about bodybuilding. Bodybuilding for life. That's right. Todd. Let's see here. We got couple more super chats, I think, down here at the bottom. We got Falcon 33. He says 125 million fine goes toward crypto reserve. Very, very possible. That'd be very interesting if the SEC's fine of 125 million was paid in XRP, and that could go toward the crypto reserve. I think it's going to be more than that from the escrow, personally, but we'll see how it shakes out. We also have, he says again, if XRP hits 4 digits, Chris and Brad will be trillionaires. Yes, they will. Fit21 prevent this. Could Fit21 prevent this, as their influence might affect XRP's future price action? Look, people get mad for people making billions and trillions of dollars, and I don't know why. If you created that much value for the rest of the world, right? If everybody's life is impacted at scale because of something you created, and it benefits them, you don't think you should be compensated in proportion to that? Like, that's capitalism, right? If you're able to provide economic benefit to people at scale across an entire economy or the globe, like this is going to do for XRP, you should be well compensated for that. And for them to become trillionaires, they were the original founders. They've been here, they're OGs, right? They've been here since the inception and scaled the business and developed the protocol and implemented it with the banks, and they've seen it all the way through. I don't know that Chris is everybody's cup of tea. Brad's not always everybody's cup of tea either, but I think that they do what they set out to do, which was make XRP the global reserve asset at the end of the day. And I think that's where it's going to sit over the long term. Fit 21, I don't think it's going to prevent that. I think there's going to be a lot of people that become billionaires overnight on XRP. I think I know many of them. Many of them are clients and good friends. So, for them to do that well, I'll be happy for them. I'm definitely not going to dog them, and excited for. And when you have that much money, all you can do with it's donate it and give it back and do other cool stuff with it. Like, you have way more than you'll ever need, right? Like when you have a centimillionaire or billionaire, like. So, and the first time I kind of realized this, one of my mentors is Howard Getz, and he runs CapLogix, brilliant gentleman, kind of a savant. He asked me, he said, what's a lot of money to you? And at the time I said, like $2 million would like change my life. It'd be pretty significant. And there's levels to the game, right? And so I asked him, he runs a $400 million hedge fund. And I said, his wife's parents are billionaires. They build cities for a living. And anyway, I probably should have said his name, but not that many people watch on here. So I asked him, I said, what's a lot of money for you? He said, if I had another 100 million, I could probably gamble on some startups. And that's when I was like, oh, more money for you wouldn't even change your lifestyle dramatically at all. Like you just get to a certain point and you're well taken care of. You have everything you want. You can travel. You have freedom. You're really looking for purpose at that point. So then you use that tool and resource to get fulfillment and give back. Like there's really not much else you can do. Like, cool, you were an empire and you have all this money. Like, can't take it with you when you die. So might as well make people's lives better here while you're here. And so I think that's what Chris and Brad and David and all those guys will do. Arthur, I think that they'll just become huge philanthropists and probably just give to tons of causes and do a lot of good with the money over their lifetime. We've got conservative asset class. They say, how are you, sir? My man, your thoughts on Axelar's price-wise? Keep up the good work. You motivate me like anything. I'm glad you found your channel. Appreciate it, brother. I'm glad to have you here, and thank you for the kind words and taking time out of your evening. I think Axelar is going to do a lot better than most people anticipate because it's going to be the bridge network. We talked to them just recently about some of the stuff that we're working on. It looks like they're going to be interoperable with Corda Q3-ish this year, but they've added a ton of EVM compatible networks to their infrastructure, and they're continuing to scale things out to others as well. Solana, Avalanche, like they're going to be the connector for the majority of this stuff. So I think their token's going to do exceptionally well. Similar to like Polygon or Matic, right? Like I think they're going to be a layer 2 that allows for interoperability and smart contracts to be able to, grow at scale. And I think that's a sleeper. It's probably in my top 5. Let's see here. This person says, I'm going to take your advice and buy a decent wallet. Is the wallet called Decent? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And again, you can check it out in the link. I know, we're an affiliate. I make like $5 if you buy one. But it is from the manufacturer, and you're not going to get scammed if you go through that link. So that's why I suggest that for a lot of people. What's your take on news conference tomorrow? Very interesting. We'll see what shakes out. Again, I think what's happening in the markets right now is the reverse carry trade is starting to unwind, and I think that might be the announcement that they come out with tomorrow. I think that the tune from tariffs and DeepSeek is going to pivot, and somebody is going to yell wolf or fire in the theater, and you're going to see everybody just run for the hills when that happens. I'm going to feed so many hungry people and help so many elderly people when XRP explodes. See, that's beautiful, man. And that's the commonality I've seen across all the people that are holding this asset in particular is, they want to take care of themselves and their family, but anything beyond those necessities, it's not like they're gluttonous or they have an ego or they're chauvinistic or like they want to be extravagant or flamboyant. They really are just good-hearted people that want to give back and take care of their community or whatever cause is on their heart. So excited for that. And again, super excited for the world and the impact that our XRP family is going to be able to make with the blessings that we're going to receive. Josh says, I'm new, so you don't have to pay taxes until you withdraw cash profits into your bank, correct? No, not quite, close. So if you sell your crypto for anything else, yes, there's tax implications on that. So if you swap your Bitcoin for ETH, even though you didn't go to cash, it's not like a 1031 exchange for real estate. There's still tax implications. So if you made money on Bitcoin and then swap it to anything else, including cash, you owe taxes. But if you move it off of an exchange to your cold wallet, that's not taxable. So I've had a lot of people ask me that. It's like going to the bank and withdrawing your money from the ATM. No taxes. It's like going to the art museum and taking your piece of art and putting it in your house. Like you didn't exchange it for anything else. There's no tax implications for just moving it. It's only when you swap one thing for another that you're going to incur taxes. Lucas, appreciate you on the super chat. He says, only can afford 2,000 XRP. Am I too late? Absolutely not, sir. That's fantastic, and I'm glad to see that you're here. I think you're here just in time, personally. Excited for you and your family. And just to give you kind of a background here, I've told probably 2,000 people about this over the last 4 years. Okay, 200 of those people had some money, and they threw it at it, somewhere between $10 and a couple $1,000. And they were like, if you're right, then I make a ton of money and I never have to work again, and it's an asymmetric bet, and I don't have to worry about that. Like I throw the money at it one time, it just sits there and I don't have to think about it. And then there's been about 20 people out of those 2,000 that were like, oh, I get it. And then they went and like mortgaged their house and bought XRP with it. Not recommending you do that, by the way. Don't take that advice. Those people, look, those are your own choices. There's nothing I told them to do. But anyway, anybody that has any allocation to XRP, I think is going to do absolutely fantastic, depending on how long you hold it for. So if you're looking for a quick flip, a lot of people are like, get rich quick scheme. So if you saw, let's say it went to $1,000 tomorrow, you get 2 mil. Most people are going to cash out because they don't know anything about this asset class. They don't know that they should hold at least half of that or some of it over the long term and allow it to continue to grow over time. They're going to cash out. They live in California. They're going to owe 50% taxes. They're down to $1 million, and within a year, they've spent all that money and burned through it. Or worse, they bought liabilities with it that they can't afford after the money runs out, and now they go bankrupt because they can't afford the payments. That's what most lottery winners do, unfortunately. So be aware of that. Invest your capital, buy assets that cash flow before you buy the liabilities. That's something I've talked about a lot. So if you want to, say you want a Rari, okay, it's your dream car. Buy a car wash that generates $3,000 to $10,000 a month, and use that to pay for the car. And then when you get tired of the car and you want to sell it, you can. It's probably appreciated in value since you bought it, or at least maintained its value. And you've got the cash value in the vehicle, and you still have the asset that's cash flowing to make a payment on whatever vehicle or home or whatever else you want. That would be the way I would go about this. And that's going to take longer, and it's going to take discipline for most people. Most people don't have it. Most people, especially on the other side of this, if you've held it for 3, 4, 5, 10, 7 years, whatever it is, a lot of people are like pent up, ready to explode, and they're going to liquidate and then go buy all these things. Have the discipline. You've already built the muscle of patience over the last 4 or 5 years here. Make sure that you're using that liquidity in a way that's going to foster, long-term benefits for you and your family, and allow you the lifestyle that you want to live. And it's going to require you to be a little bit disciplined. and not just splurge. I'm not saying don't splurge at all. I got a watch that I want to buy. And my wife wants a home and some other stuff. But be aware of that. Know what you're going to do. Have an exit strategy, and hopefully, again, just start to think about these things. That's really all I want to plant in people's minds, is just start to think through some of this stuff before it happens, because it's coming in the near future. We have Sam. Thank you for the membership, brother. Glad to see you here on the channel. We've got a super chat from Jason. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you on the super chat. I don't see a question, but I do appreciate the super chat. Conservative. Make sure I didn't miss any other ones here before we wrap it up this evening. We'll take a couple more over here on TikTok, then we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. We got JD. He says, I'm very new to crypto. Can I move my crypto from Uphold to Decent? Yes, sir. You absolutely can. So that very different than stocks. So crypto, you can own it. You can take possession of it, similar to cash out of a bank. And that's what you would be doing. I'd highly recommend that you send a very small transaction first. So you're going to copy paste the wallet address from Decent over there to Uphold. Uphold's kind of a pain in the ass to transfer assets off of. You got to select, like, I choose to send on this network, and then pick the token, and then you're able to send it to whatever address. And make sure you have the destination tag if you're sending it to another exchange. If you're not sending it to another exchange, you do not need the destination tag for XRP. Bitcoin is just going to be a wallet address. Anyway, there's so much here, man. It's like drinking from a fire hose since day one that I've been in this space, and I've loved every second of it. But man, there's a huge learning curve from the jump. I remember the first video I watched for like how to hold your crypto and protect it, and the lady had like 25 steps, and I was like, oh my God, like you have to do all this just to buy this stuff and hold it and not lose it? Like, this seems ridiculous. She was like, extra secure, like go create a brand new email address, buy a laptop that's completely separate and only connected to Wi-Fi when you're going to use your wallet on it. Like, she had a really robust security system for her stuff. And again, if you've got, like more than $100,000, it makes a lot of sense to, if you're going to self-custody something, probably want to be pretty secure with it. So anyway, yeah, glad to have you here in crypto. And if you have any questions, we do these again every Monday and Wednesday night. Happy to run things down for you. I do want to mention this, I didn't even touch on it here, but if you do want an LLC for your digital assets, we can set that up. It provides you the full scope of the tax code to be able to offset the tax implications. On the other side, it provides you privacy. So these assets aren't going to be in your name. It's going to be in an LLC there in Wyoming that has the attorney's name on it. So it creates anonymity and provides you some privacy. On the other side of price appreciation, provides you the most flexibility to pivot, whether moving those assets into a trust or a foundation or a life insurance policy or however else you want to hold the assets as they appreciate, to be able to mitigate taxes. We provide all those strategies at Digital Ascension Group and Digital Wealth Partners. Happy to have a consult with you guys if that makes sense. You can reach out through info at either one, info at Digital Family Office or info at Digital Wealth Partners. It's digitalfamilyoffice.io and digitalwealthpartners.net. Info at both of those is a great way to reach us, and we're happy to answer any questions that you guys have. If you're new or extremely experienced with crypto, love to have a conversation about institutional custody or any other services that we provide. Or you can just check out the Mastermind, and everybody there will explain all that stuff for you. It's beyondbroke.com. You can go check it out. Mastermind.beyondbroke.com. If you want a free month, check out that. Go, to the website, social and Carbon One. You get a free month there. It is mastermind.beyondbroke.com. The code there for the free month is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar, or the abbreviation for month. That's Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar. And if you want the LLC, happy to work with you guys on that. You can go to digitalfamilyoffice.io, go to the LLC formation. It's normally $3,000, but if you're here tonight, you can put in the code 50 off, OFF DAG, like Digital Ascension Group, LLC, and that gets you 50% off the LLC. So anyway, love to help you guys out any way that we can. Thank you so much for taking the time out on a Monday evening. We'll be back Wednesday night with another live. Wish you guys a wonderful week, and we will see y'all on the next one.